So what I was about to say is that one thing that I started to think about is like when you train in the martial arts, typically you have to start somewhere, right? So
Mhm.
say hypothetically you started off in Taekwondo and you did it for 5 years, right?
Mhm.
And then you decide, oh, I want to try something else, or maybe this is not right for me. Let me do something else. Let me do, say, kung fu, and then you
Mhm.
just join the kung fu school. Then it's like you're not truly a kung fu artist because you just started. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
you're still a taekwondo, like, cause that's you had been there for 5 years. So my
Mhm.
my thing is, if you want to claim kung fu, then you got to train at least another 5 years in kung fu before you start claiming kung fu.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying? Cause like, if you've been training taekwondo for 5 years and you just joined a kung fu school, how could you claim kung fu when you've been doing taekwondo for 5 years? You know, like you need to like get you need to really get in tune with the kung fu to pretty much be there longer than the taekwondo in order to start claiming the kung fu over the taekwondo.
Yeah.
That's what I started thinking, because I mean, when this new student joined, for example, he trained in a year in hapkido. Now he just joined my school, so he's not representing my school, because how can you only been here for a couple days, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Mhm.
if you're here for at least a year and then you've been here longer than the hapkido, then now you could decide, well, I've been at kung fu for a year, I've been at hapkido for a year, which one do I like more? If he likes the kung fu, then he could be like, okay, then I'm gonna start claiming this school, like this is what I'll be representing, or like this is what I'm gonna tell people that I do. But then the person could also be like, well, I think I like hapkido more, so then let me go back to the hapkido, you understand? So like that's my new like view on it, because like people jump, a lot of times people jump from school to school to school, and then it's like, what do you claim? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's your foundation? And when you tried all these different things, then out of all the things that you tried, if you have to choose one, I'm not saying you choose all of them, but if you had to choose one, which one are you gonna claim to be like what you're gonna represent? You know what I'm saying? And obviously for me, I'm representing kung fu. But when you come to like a black person, a white person, a Hispanic person, they're not Japanese, they're not Korean, they're not Chinese, and those are like the three countries where these martial arts are coming from. In Thailand too, like Thai boxing,
Yeah.
Taekwondo, and then the Japanese martial arts, Chinese martial arts. So if you're not Japanese, if you're not Korean, if you're not Thai, if you're not Chinese, then you kind of have you're not like you're not your bloodline is not associated with any of these cultures. So you're not gonna have any of these like attachments. So then
Mhm.
you yourself have to decide for yourself, like, which one of those arts, which one of those cultures, if you have to choose, are you gonna want to promote and represent? Because it can't really, because you're talking about business. You can't like have a conflict of interest like that. It's like somebody that works for like Burger King and he works at McDonald's at the same time. It's like that's a conflict of interest. Like
Yeah.
you gotta choose one over the other. And that's how it was when I was a police officer. It's like you can't work for multiple police departments. You can only choose one department to work for, and that's where you're working.
Mhm.
It's like you can't have that conflict of interest. So when it comes to the martial arts, people, they like to jump from this to this to this and that, but it's like it comes to the point where you gotta choose. Just like when you go to college, you gotta choose what do you want to what do you want to major in. You can't like
Yeah.
major in everything. And if you want to be a professional athlete, you can't be like, oh, I want to be a professional baseball player, professional football, basketball, like professional everything. Like you need some type of like focus. Like what are you gonna focus your energies on and basically better yourself in?
Yeah.
Cause I mean, so I mean that's what I started to think about is like when I take in new people and they're coming from other schools, like just because they just joined, it doesn't mean they're representing this school. They just joined. Like the people that are representing the school are the people that's been here the longest and that are pretty much been training the most with me. Those are the people that are
yeah,
representing. So that's one thing that I started to think about. Like how, like if you've been doing something for 10 years, like it doesn't even have to be martial arts. Like say you've been an electrician for 10 years, and then you want to just all of a sudden change your profession, and now you want to be a doctor or something. Well, you can't just claim yourself to be a doctor after being in studying medicine for like a year. You know what I'm saying? Like you put in 10 years as an electrician, then you better put 10 years in as a doctor before you start claiming
exactly.
stuff and saying that, hey, this is my expertise now. It's like, so like if you've been claiming Taekwondo for the last 10 years, then why are you all of a sudden dropping that label and then claiming something new? Like, why did you do that? You know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta really understand, like, why are you dropping that label and now you want to claim Kung Fu? Like, what is the reason behind that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So, I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking about. Because they gotta
yeah, you're
basically,
absolutely right.
they gotta basically like prove their loyalty. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've been loyal to this other school for 3 years or whatever the case may be. Well, you gotta show that same amount of loyalty over here too. Give me,
Yeah, even more.
yeah, give me 3 years. And once you give me 3 years, all right, now, what do you want? Like, do you want to still claim this, or do you want to go back to where you came from, or do you want to go to something new? You know,
Okay.
I mean, that's kind of what got me to think about.
Yeah, I think it's basically like relationship with women, for example. Like you might be with a person for a year or 2 years, and maybe you decided maybe this relationship is not for me.
Yeah.
How long you take? Like 5 years, right?
Huh?
How long he's been in Aikido? It's like a year,
One
right?
year. 1 year.
Okay. So if he went to another relationship, so he's gonna be like, okay, I'm with this woman now, and then after a year, he'll decide whether or not, okay, this is something that's this I feel connected with you, so maybe we should try it out for maybe a few years, and if it works out, that that may be the relationship for me. But if it's like a relation, you jump from relationships to relationships to relationships, it's like not claiming a partner at all. So, that's how I think about the martial arts too.
Yeah. I mean, I'm seeing it like too, like the comparison with relationships as well, because I see that it's so hard to stick to one, and a lot of times people want to date other people and try different things, and it's like they stray away from their relationship, and there's so many divorces and breakups and all this other stuff. I see the difficulties in relationships, and it's the same difficulties that come into the martial arts, the same difficulties that come into employment. It's like people have a really hard time holding on to one job. People have a really hard time like sticking to one martial arts school. People have a really hard time sticking to one relationship. And this whole like so-called MMA thing is almost like it's like promoting people like women to be prostitutes or men to be like just having sex with like whoever, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like there's like this whole thing about loyalty and commitment. You don't really see it much in anything in this culture, and it translates over to the martial arts, and some of the problems associated, because it's like if I don't feel loyalty and commitment from a student that I'm training, then why would I show him? Why would I help him to reach his potential so then he could put me out of business? You know what I'm saying? It's like
So you could
what
come,
what
that's so you could become a champion, and then you just like, okay,
yeah, like stuff like that. It's just like you have to really, the people have to kind of really show like that commitment, that loyalty. And it's hard to find that in it's really hard to find that. So
Yeah,
you know.
which is why I think I told you that. Which is why Bruce Lee, when black belt karate people who just come to his school, he doesn't trust them very much. You
Yeah,
know, because he feels like, okay, you know how to fight already, so why you come to me now?
yeah,
You know, how can you be loyal to me?
yeah,
How do I know you're not trying to learn from me so you could go against me?
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the thing that you know, it's on my mind. You know, as running the school and like teaching different people and seeing people come and go, seeing certain people stay. Like that's a big part of like what makes a school. You know, is like that loyalty. You know, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not even about like, oh, this style, that style. It's more like everything that you want to learn is already here. I mean, you could just bring the ideas that you have into the school. Like this is, it doesn't prevent your growth. It's just more like, it's more about like working together as like one unit, you know, to achieve a certain goal or whatnot, you know. Um,
Yeah.
like people think that, oh, you know, let me, oh, I've been in Taekwondo school. Let me go to a Muay Thai school so I can learn how to elbow and knee. Well, you can't learn how to do that on your own. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you
Yeah,
know,
I
it's
was
like,
saying.
oh, let me
Go on.
join a boxing club so I can learn how to punch. It's like, really, you can't learn how to. It's like, you don't need to like leave where you're at in order to progress. As long as it's a school where it's open to like, you know, basically studying what really does work, you know? Like
Mm-hmm.
like it's not like you got like people like my students have to like leave my school and quit because they want to learn how to use firearms or some shit. You know what I'm saying? Like we do that
Okay.
here. You know, it's like we do that here. We got somebody that does the drumming, we do the line dancing, we do punching, we do kicking, we do elbows, we do knees, we do ground fighting, like we do everything. But yeah, there's gonna be certain things that I don't know how to do, but we could all come together and still learn
Figure it out.
together. And yeah, exactly, like figure it out. Like the other day, there's this new student that he's really good at like these fire performance type things where he's playing around with like this dart that has fire on it. You know what I'm saying? So he's really good
Mm-hmm.
with these like he's really good at these performance type of like fire things that were he was able to transfer some of those skills into using the nunchucks and the staff. So he's basically doing
Mm-hmm.
things that certain things that I don't know how to do myself. So then he's like showing me certain flares that are new to me, and then that
Wow.
helps me like be able to learn what he has to show in order to help other people learn that as well, you know. So sometimes there are students that contribute certain things to the school to enhance the school, you know, and the school is open to that. But
So,
I do understand certain schools where they're so strict and set on their certain ways. Like you might have a certain like say Taekwondo school where all they do is kicking and they don't do any weight training, they don't do any calisthenics, and they just all they do is just kick all day and that's it. Then I can understand certain people where they feel so limited by that they want to leave to learn something else, you know. But
okay.
my school is not like that. It's like is there's like so many different things that we could do that there wouldn't be a need for somebody to leave to learn something that they can't learn over here, you know. Um, but yeah, I mean, to find that loyalty is hard. I mean, like I could find people that are talented, you know, I could do that. But to find people that are loyal to your school that are talented, that's really hard to find. Because people
Okay.
that are already talented, they figure, well, you didn't help me get this talent. I did this through my own hard work. So I don't wanna represent your school. I don't wanna help your school grow. I wanna help myself grow, or I wanna create my own school. You understand? It's like
Okay.
they're they don't, a lot of people at times that are people are already talented, they don't want to work together with you. So I either have to
True.
do it on my own, or I have to start from scratch with somebody, like somebody like my kids, or I have to work with a stranger that starts from scratch, and then build that trust and loyalty through time. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not easy to retain talent. It really isn't. You know.
Yeah, that's true because like the more talented you are, the more you feel like okay, maybe I should go towards other people that are as talented than me or more talented than me, so I could learn something. You know, that's mostly the mindset of many people out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you sing about the certain flares that the students are doing that are new to you, in a way, it makes you become the student, and the student becomes a teacher in a way, right?
I mean, for certain things, I mean, I'm still
Okay.
like the one. I'm always gonna be the one that's running the school, the owner of the school, and decide making certain decisions for the school. But there's gonna be certain people that have certain talents that can be shared with the school, but that's only under my direction still. So
Okay.
it's just the people. It has to be the people have to. There has to be like an like a their ego really has to be put into control. Because if you got somebody that I mean, this is typical. Somebody that thinks, oh, I spar better than you, I'm more fit than you, so now I'm running the school. Like, no, you're not. You know what I'm saying? It's just like
No.
it doesn't work that way. It's like it's not. It's like when somebody's running the school, that like this person owns the school. It's like I own the, like it's like you're like owning a home. Like, this is your home. You decide who comes in here and who doesn't. Like, I don't care if the person is fit or he could spar, but if he thinks that he's gonna control everything and dominate everything just because he's good at something, then he doesn't belong there. Like,
Okay.
he has to come in there with more humbleness. If he doesn't come there with humbleness, then he doesn't belong there. Now, especially in the group. But if he came in and then he's like, oh, I want a private lesson. And then in this private lesson, I don't want to teach you. I don't want you to teach me. I want to teach you. And he's paying me money to show me some things. Then hey, if that's what he wants to do and pay me money, you understand what I'm talking about? Like, if there's people out there like that where they don't want to learn, they just want to teach. Okay, that's fine, but we could do that in a private lesson type thing, because I don't want them to influence other people within the group into feeding into their ego that, oh, I know this and he doesn't, so now I'm in charge type thing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
if there's somebody like that, then they clearly do not belong within the group of who I'm teaching, because they're using that as leverage to enhance their ego, and that's gonna offset the direction of the entire school as a whole. Because the people have to be able to understand that I don't care like what you know or how good you are or how great you think you are. You're still the student and I'm still the teacher. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's only one
Yeah.
Sifu, but yeah, of course there's gonna be people that are good at different things, but it doesn't mean that they're heading the school. They're just people that can assist in development in certain areas. You know, I mean, and inevitably through time, it's gonna happen. I mean, I'm gonna get older, and then other people are younger. They're gonna be able to do certain things that I cannot do, but it doesn't mean
Yeah.
anything. They're still not the Sifu. You know what I'm saying? Like, you think that like just because you're more fit than Obama, that you're the president now. I mean, it doesn't work that way. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the president. You know what I'm saying? So he's the one who's in charge, and the Sifu is the one that's always gonna be in charge of the school until he gives up the duties to one single individual to run the school when he's gone.
Yeah.
But everybody underneath the Sifu, they have to restrain their ego and learn to understand that whatever they're sharing is just something that they're sharing, and they're not better than other people or better than the Sifu because they have something to share. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So, and there has to be like a chain of command where it's like there's a Sifu, and then there's like the older brothers, and then the younger brothers, and so on and so forth, where there's always that respect. So then the younger brother always shows respect to the older brothers, and then the older brothers always show respect to the Sifu. There's always that chain. If that chain is broken, then there's gonna be some serious problems. Then you can have people come in through the door. It's like the first day there, and then they think they're running the school. You know, like those are some just huge ego problems, and those types of people do not belong in the group. Now, I'll deal with those individuals on the individual level. Like if I'm training somebody one on one personal training, and he wants to like disrespect me, or he wants to teach me because he doesn't want to learn, or he doesn't want to listen, or he wants to show up late, or if he just wants to cancel whenever he feels like it. That's I'm dealing with them on a one-on-one level. As long as he's paying me money and I'm okay with that, then whatever. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to a group, now their actions are affecting the other people around them. And if they see me treating him a certain way, then it takes away my authority and my, the way that I'm supposed to be conducting my classes. You know what I'm saying? So,
Okay.
like, I'll submit to a one-on-one person because it's a one-on-one thing where it's happening on a private level. If somebody disrespects me one-on-one, but he's paying me like $50 an hour, I'll just take the disrespect, whatever, you give me my money anyway. You know what I'm saying? But like, I'm not gonna have somebody coming into the martial arts group and then disrespecting me or just rebelling against my authority just so he could try to show off in front of the group or whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? Because
Okay.
cause ultimately, it's up to me whether or not the person's gonna be there, or I'm gonna get rid of him. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. In a way, it's kind of how Jackie Chan handles Rush Hour, the Rush Hour series. We figured that okay, if Chris Tucker wants to disrespect me and I'm getting a lot of money, hey, so be it, man.
no, but then that's happening on a public level
At the public level, that's
where like there's millions of people watching. It's
okay.
not like Chris Tucker's like disrespecting him in the privacy of like just between them two. Like you're
Okay.
disrespecting him, you know, on a public level. That's not just about Jackie Chan, but just an entire culture together. That's that's
Okay. My
different,
bad.
you know. But I mean, that's the difference between like being an actual Sifu and being like just like a personal trainer. Like being a personal trainer, like you're pretty much like a servant to the person that hired you. Like it's like almost like being like a waiter or a waitress, or you're like a workhorse. You're like a little slave. You know what I'm saying? Like they pay you money and you're pretty much like serving them. But the Sifu is always supposed to be like the master, like no matter what, like he's always in control. So
Yeah.
like you don't, what he says is what goes. That's how it's supposed to be, and it's completely the opposite of what the service industry is about. So like when people, it's basically more serious. It's more like the military, like the whole real martial arts training is concerned. Is more like what you'd find in the military, where it's like if you fuck up or whatever the case may be, they're gonna get rid of you. Or they're gonna really enforce some strict discipline on you. But then the personal training thing, the service oriented thing, Now you put the full power in the customer's hands, and they do whatever the hell they want to do because they're paying
Yeah.
you. So it's completely opposite. So like that has to be really clearly understood that you cannot operate a martial arts school at having and then have the sifu be the servant to the customer. It doesn't work that way. Then it's not martial arts
Yeah.
anymore. Then it's just like it's just it's a bunch of bullshit. It's not martial arts anymore. You know what I mean? Like there's always the head person, and you gotta respect that person and submit and surrender to that person. And yeah, there's
Yeah,
gonna
you
be
gotta
certain. There's
trust
always
the
gonna
person too, you know.
there's always gonna be certain things that you're gonna know more, but that doesn't mean anything. Or you might feel that you're a little bit more fit, or you're a little bit older, or you're a little younger, or you're taller, or you weigh a little bit more, or you read a few more books. I mean, it's not about that. It's about this is the person in charge, and this is the sifu. Do you accept him as one, or do you not? If you don't, then leave. If you do, then you gotta surrender. You can't just like think that you're above when you're not. Like he's always above you, and you respect that, and then you humble yourself to learn. But if you think that you know everything, then what are you even doing there? You know. So
Yeah.
that's the thing. I've run across people like that where their minds are so full of information that they think they know everything, and it's hard to teach those people. It really is. But it's like if they're paying me money, they're paying the school money, then it's like okay, I'll deal with them the best that I can. But if they start overstepping certain boundaries, then you gotta immediately let them know that it's not gonna go this way. You know,
Mhm.
because I mean, if it's a personal training client and it's a one-on-one lesson, he comes in there, he's like, you know what, I don't feel too good today. Could we just stretch all day? Okay, that's no problem. That's your hour. You know what I'm saying? That's what you're paying for. But if it's a group lesson, say there's like 30 people, and then the guy comes in there, oh, I'm not feeling too good. Could we just stretch all day? Like, who are you to dictate for everybody else? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, true.
Like, that's not your class. You understand? You can't just go in there and be like, oh, because I don't feel too good, everybody's got to just stretch like me. Like, no. Like, the Sifu's there to make the decision, not you. You understand? So,
Yeah.
that's an example of what I'm trying to bring out. It's like, you can't, like, dictate an entire group thinking that you're in charge when you're not.
True.
And certain people are going to want to try to do that, and then when they do, you got to put them in check right away.
Like they own your business.
Yeah, otherwise they start they start taking full advantage of that. And those are the people that don't belong in the group. I'm not saying that I won't train them. I'll train them on an individual level, and then let them boost just their own ego all they want for the whole hour. But when it comes to the group, their ego's got to be put in check. And if any type of ego is going to be allowed, then it's got to be at the discretion of the sifu to allow that ego to be allowed, and just being the ego, basically the sifu is more like, okay, you're the top student, so I'm gonna put you in charge right now because I got something else to do. You know what I'm saying? And then that top student plays that role. But you gotta he's gotta be able to follow orders and know when to turn that ego off and when to turn it back on. Because when I step back into the class, then I'm in charge now. He's not in charge anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like that was just temporary. You know? So it's got to turn on and off. Like you got to know when to be in charge and then when to follow. And you always have to follow. Like they always got to follow me. If they ever feel like, oh, I'm better than the Sifu, now the Sifu needs to follow me. No, there's something serious wrong right there. Then
Yeah.
then there's going to be immediate conflict, and the person either has to fix the behavior or he's just gonna have to leave. Because nobody's ever gonna top the Sifu. Unless the Sifu's dead and then he pretty much handed over whatever powers over to the person of whom he thinks is worthy of it. You know? But if there's nobody worthy of it, then basically he could just set it up so then everything ends when he's gone, you know? It's just kind of like you have $1,000,000 that you saved. It's up to you. You could either, and you know you're gonna die like tomorrow, you could give it to somebody that you think deserves it, or you could just literally burn the money before you die and just be like, ain't nobody getting this. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of like that. I mean, it's your money. You decide what you want to do with it. You know what I'm saying? So that's how the art is. It's like you created this art. It's your art. Now, do you want to have anybody pass it on, or do you just want to stop it right here and just like be like, no, nobody's passing this on. This is just mine. You know what I'm saying? Because once you pass it on, you're not here to put people in check. Then they go overboard with this whole ego thing, and then they start doing some crazy ass stuff under your name, and that's how all the corruption occurs. You know, that's why there's like people in this MMA thing saying that, oh, Bruce Lee's the one who told us to do this type of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
That's a lie.
You know, it's like Bruce Lee didn't say nothing about no MMA. You know what I'm saying? Like Bruce Lee was talking about Jeet Kune Do. You know what I'm saying? Bruce Lee was like in movies. You know, so that's how corruption.
Jeet Kune Do martial arts. You know, he didn't mention the mixed martial arts. He never said something like that.
Yeah, there's like how the corruption, man, is like rampant. You know what I'm saying? So that's why there's like so much trust involved, and that trust is hard. You know,
Yeah.
it's hard.